Hey, everybody. See if anyone joins us here this evening. Shoulder, man, shoulder. Ouch. Let's see what we got. 7:58. What's going on out there, my friends? What's going on? Happy Sunday. Hey, Tina. Que paso? What's going on in the great state of Philly? Jack? Or the great state of Philly? Yeah, just Scott? Or the great city of Philly there, Tina. Aren't you in Philly? Yeah. Paul? Jim? Que paso, everybody? Que paso? That's Spanish for hello or what's up, Doug? Yeah, Doug. JW? Philly's crazy. Crazy good or just crazy? Dennis? Angelo? Augusta? Oh, Augusta. Yeah, man. What town are you in, Kevin? You don't have to say if you don't feel comfortable. Longview, Texas? James Chamberlain? We used to live in Rockham County, Kevin. You ever heard of Dana from Portland, Maine? We used to live in Cumberland County in Maine. Dan C. Kevin, you ever heard of Joel Salatin? He's a farmer out there right west of Stanton. I can't remember the town, but he does the Philly police commissioner resigned. I hadn't heard that. What was going on in Philly? Oh yeah, about the guy shooting people. Yeah, what's that about? Nuts. Bangor, Maine. All right. Where are you at now, Mark? Hey, Mary, you're in DC. What you doing there, man? Protesting? Daniel? Sandra, right on. Northwest Iowa. Deb from New Jersey. All right. Oh, yeah. Yakima Wash. So Joel Salatin, he does his own butchering, his own grass-fed beef. He does his own chickens and all that stuff. And he's got a thriving farm out there. And he is a libertarian, organic, beyond organic farmer. And I just find it funny. All these people think that, or a lot of the hippie types say, "Oh, farming is for socialists." And Joel, and there's a lot of libertarians out there saying, "No, we're trying to reclaim," and I'm not a farmer, but they're trying to reclaim the idea that socialism is a good thing. It's not. So they're just out there trying to say, look, we need to make this more of a libertarian and not give away the organic. I hate to even say organic. We'll say sustainable, just thriving community of folks who are concerned about the land. Away to the socialists is awesome, and so you can actually go to his farm and you can watch him chop heads off, chickens and slaughter the beef, and he's had his own run-in with the folks in Augusta County and the whole Commonwealth of Virginia, because they obviously want to regulate that like crazy, because that's regulations, how they get paid, man. It's crazy. Philly, another Philly. All right. Westchester, New York, Fort Worth, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina. We used to have a Halifax, Mass. You're in Mary's at a wedding, right on. Well, congratulations to the beautiful bride there, Mary. Providence, Rhode Island. Shoulder hurts, Greg. No other way. I don't know. It's I don't know, man. It just hurts. It's not like a throbbing pain like I had when I first got surgery or before I got surgery, but lately it's just, hey, JD. It just hurts. No other way around that. It's and I just might be just because I'm using it more. I'm not sure, but man, it's got to go away. Seemed like I had someone else. Oh, we had another guy from Philly who's not on here, and he moved from South Jersey to Philly. I forgot his name, but he's not on here much anymore. So go Bucks. Yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes are in town. Try PRP therapy for that. What is PRP? Physical restorative therapy. Don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that is. So if you want to explain, I am in physical therapy, and it's good. It stretches it out, but man. Well, we got good news on the homestead front here, my friends. Is that and I did a video on this morning or this earlier today. But if y'all Plaza, if you haven't, if you didn't watch it, we are finally the wife, the better half, North 400 neighbors right up Lanier. Yeah, man. Yeah, right on. Jason Isbell, drive-by truckers, right? Didn't he used to be in the drive-by truckers, but isn't he all? He posts some stuff on your inability to own a firearm, which ticks me off. Anyway, because one thing you'll never, we'll say South Florida. So we, after 15 years, are getting ready to adopt a dog, and I cannot wait. A little dog named Pablo, and it's going to be awesome. In fact, we just got off the horn about 2 minutes ago, right before I did this, with a lady who's got to come do a home inspection to make sure it's all good. I know it's awesome, Mary, and we had 2 dogs. I don't think I have pictures here anymore. 2 dogs for a long time, Stout and Emma, and I loved them to death. And we just couldn't have any more because the kids were allergic. Stout became schizo, literally schizo, and he would growl and take bites out of girls and women. And that's not good when I had my wife and my 2 daughters who were young, 3 and a baby, and Stout was so Stout literally became schizo. It was weird, man. He just like growled at my wife, and my wife loved him more than she loved me when we first got him. It's funny. One of the dogs that the lady was showing us. Let me see if I can't show you a picture. The best friend was a pit bull, and just freaking gorgeous. And I said I could take them both, and she's like, "You can't have Daisy. That's mine." So I'll show you a little. Look at him. Oh, does that just make you? Oh man, I love it. I can't wait to get with Pablo. And there's Daisy the pit, and then there's Pablo sitting there. And I said I want to get Daisy the pit bull too, and she said you can't have him. I guess he's a pocket pit bull. Look how cute. Anyway, so Emma had dog ears just like that. I don't know what the ears are, but Emma, my dog, had ears just like that. And man, I miss her something wicked. So anyway, it's all good. We got so my wife finally said, okay, we can probably, the kids are old enough to be able to escape the allergies that they had. So we're excited. I'm not sure what kind of dog it is, Jill. I'm not sure. It's a small dog. My wife only wanted a football-sized dog to get started, but I think I can convince her so that way later on we can get a big old bowling ball dog like that, old Daisy there. But we're stoked. So it's gonna be good. My kids are dying for a dog. It's weird. My 2 boys have never had a dog ever, and I can't wait to see them either, Sandra. I cannot wait. We got to go up to Dalton, I guess, to pick them up, which is about 30 minutes south of Chattanooga. So I'll be driving back up there hopefully this week once we get approved from the authorities, the adoption agency. So anyway, I can't wait. We got to get the dog food and stuff and everything. It's just been a long time since we had dogs, and I'm mountains in New York, Bruce, right on. I'm excited. So it's great. Yeah, no, dog make me happy inside. The funny thing is you can't Mary, we think no more than 18 months we're thinking. And I'll show you what they did. Well, whoever part of my, and there he is right there. Oh man, look at that little guy. I love him. So let's see if I can't find what they did. Fitchburg, Wisconsin, Richard Meyer. Look at that. That's how he was in the the pet the veterinarian place. Is that I don't know what happened to him, but man, I mean, he was dragged on the road. I mean, how do you do that? I know it's horrible. Hey, so what I want to talk about here today, I did a video earlier today on the 3 buckets where you have tax deferred accounts, taxable accounts, and tax free accounts. And I want to do that again because I think it's actually why I think it's actually important to kind of follow this around. I want to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about life insurance because I do think life insurance gets a bad rap, but I think it has a place for some people. And then whatever you guys want to talk about. And West by God, Virginia. Right on, man. And then we'll probably get a little bit of provisional income. Yeah, I'm behind. Well, that's the thing, Joe. I mean, a lot of these videos for me, I'm like, oh, they're redundant. Look, it's been 6 months. I said I don't want to do them again, but then I realized I do so many videos that hey, New Hampshire, right on. That there's no way for anyone to keep up with them. I just throw them out there because I enjoy doing it. Brian's in the house. All right, so we got tax deferred, tax free. All right, so and we'll answer your question there in just a second, Tina. So taxable, tax deferred, tax free. Remember, at all times, qualified dividend income and long-term capital gains are always taxed less than ordinary income. Always. always tax less than ordinary income. If you're in a 0 to 12, 10 to 12% tax bracket, you pay nothing on qualified dividends and long-term capital gains. If you're in the 12, 22, 24, 33, where's my little tax thing? 22, 24, 33, I think it's 33. I don't remember. But anyway, if you're in the 22, 24, and we'll just say 33 tax bracket, you pay 15% on long-term capital gains and qualified dividends. If you're above 200 single or 250 married filing jointly, you will pay an extra net investment income tax of 3.8%, Medicare surtax. But either way, that's still lower than ordinary income. And then it's 20% if you're in the higher tax bracket. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. Let's say 35%. So what happens is we always, anything that comes out of this guy right here is always ordinary income. That guy, the tax deferred, that's the IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, annuities, anything that comes out of here, be it stocks or bonds, is always, always, always taxed as ordinary income. And that is the worst tax we can have. Anything that comes out of a taxable account, a brokerage account or something like that, could be short-term capital gain, which is OI, which would be stupid. Don't do that. But mostly it's going to be QDI and long-term capital gains. All right. So what's going on, Edward? Northern Maine, man. Where you at? Where are you from there, Edward? So basically, the taxable account, most likely, it should not be OI. I mean, if you're getting short-term capital gains, you're making a mistake. But it will be qualified dividend, long-term capital gain, but it could be bond income, which is also OI. Now, a lot of people make the argument mistakenly that they should have municipal bonds in here in the tax-free. All right, they should say, hey, well, I got tax-free municipal bonds. That's a big mistake too, because tax-free municipal bonds don't pay anything relative to what corporate or government bonds do, even with the taxes thrown in there. Most likely, our friend from California, who I referred to back in the video today, he never said I could use his name, so I don't. He didn't say I could, I just won't. Prescott, oh, man, that's way up there. You're not getting 5% corporate municipal bonds anymore unless you're paying a significant premium. So you're not doing that. So this guy bought them in 2010, I think, and he got a smoking deal. 5% tax-free California state municipal bonds. You can't beat that. But that's not happening anymore. Nigerian bond index. So anyway, so what we're trying to do here is we're saying we don't want municipal bonds and we don't want corporate bonds in here at all. All right. Or government bonds. We don't want stocks in here because stocks are taxed as qualified dividends or long-term capital gains. We want stocks in our taxable account and bonds in our IRA, because anything that comes out of the tax deferred account is going to be OI. So if you have stocks in your tax deferred account, inherently you're moving what it could have been a tax preferable item, stocks in a taxable account, into an IRA, which is taxed as OI. So you're immediately giving yourself a tax increase. Don't do that. So if we had 2 and 2, we had, say, 50% in stocks, 50% bonds. We only had 2 accounts. All bonds should be IRA, because bonds are taxed as OI, ordinary income, no matter what. Stocks are taxed less. It's just that simple. All bonds should be in your IRA. All stocks should be in your taxable account. Now, obviously, in your Roth, we don't want bonds in your Roth, and the only reason for that is because bonds don't give you any growth, and so you want something that's going to grow. I just can't stress that enough. And so I've had so many examples of, Grandma Jones. She has an account at Vanguard or Schwab or some, loser guy that says, I got taxable account, IRA, and a Roth. And I'll say, okay, and we'll look at the portfolio. It's the exact same stuff across all 3 account types. And I just literally want to take an anvil and drop it on my head. Pretend this is an anvil, my trusted calculator. I want to drop it on my head and just kill myself, because I'm sitting there thinking, why do people do this? She's paying more tax than she needs. And finally, don't forget, because some of y'all are going to know that, but don't forget the step up in basis rules too. So if you have a brokerage account and you have $50,000 in there and it grows to $200,000, so you have a brokerage account, you got $50,000 as your cost basis and it grows to $200,000, your heirs inherit that tax-free, no tax at all, because that's called the step up in basis rules. If this is an IRA, it's $50,000, it grows to $200,000, your heirs inherit that. Every single penny is taxed as OI, ordinary income. So we want to maximize the use of our non-IRA accounts for growth in better tax favorability and minimize the use of our IRAs for growth. Because again, bonds are coming out there as ordinary income, and stocks will come out there as ordinary income, which is just insane. We want stocks to come out as qualified dividends, long-term capital gains with a step up in basis to your heirs, and bonds to be your low growth and highest taxing thing, which is your IRA. Hope that makes sense. All right, so I did see we have some questions there. So let's see what we got. What's my thought about the student debt? I think it's a scam across the board, Tina. I just did a blog post today from some highly credentialed economics professor who used to be at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. He's been teaching for as long as even probably before I've been alive. He's got a PhD in Yale, and he's teaching people silliness. There's no other way around that. And the idea that kids are – so I went through the story that this guy was propagating. You basically well, I'll share it with you. So you had two kids. Parents gave two kids ice cream. One kid got 4 scoops. One kid got 1. This guy's argument is that they're gonna kill each other because they're jealous, and essentially the kid with 1 is gonna take from the kid with 4. And the guy's argument was we should just give them 2 and 2. We should each of them just had 2 and 2. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm asking my kids who are 11, 12, and 15. Now, my 19-year-old is obviously at Georgia Tech, so she wasn't part of the conversation because I've had conversations like this with her before. So I said, what's wrong with that picture? And they could immediately identify it. Wait, they had 5 scoops. One kid had 4, one kid had 1. Now they only have 4. Each has 2. So what happened to the 5th scoop? And inherently they understood that is socialism. It destroys wealth. It destroys it. It takes wealth away from the society at large. And the guy didn't even mean to say that. The professor, the well-credentialed, academically minded professor, his PhD and his 50,000 years of teaching, he couldn't figure that out. This is how insane academic institutions are today. And then part 2, my other kid said, wait a second, what if the kid 1 already had a snack and now he's only getting 1 scoop because he already had a snack before, and the other kid, his snack was 4 scoops? Or what if the one kid as a reward got a 4 scoop and the other kid didn't work so hard? It's kind of like the parable of the talent. If you understand the parable of the talent, Jesus uses the 3 people. The landowner says, I'm leaving, I give you some money and I want you to do something with it while I'm gone. 2 people invested it and grew on it. 1 person dug it into the ground and didn't grow. And so the guy said, man, I trusted you their money. Why didn't you do it? And the guy said, because you're a mean landlord and blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, okay. And I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful parable. Jesus talking in parables is so easy to follow and comprehend. But anyway, the point about that was, why would you send your kids to this kind of nonsense? It's nuts. My kids knew more than this professor because this professor has been out of the loop of reality for so long. And now even worse, though, going back to your question, Tina, is we've got this huge amounts of student loans that can't be wiped off in bankruptcy. And so you got all these kids pissed off at the world because they didn't learn anything. They're sold a false bill of goods that going to college will make them better off than if they didn't. It's just the whole thing is just nuts. And you're going to have all these kids that are ticked off. They can't find jobs. They can't find good jobs. On top of that, we're bringing immigrants over here who are going to compete at a lower wage, and the whole thing is just set up against these guys. So they have these huge amounts of student loans. We're bringing immigrants to compete for these jobs. We're going to cut them off at the knees for lower wages. And I don't blame the immigrants. I blame our immigration system, which allows for this to happen. And these kids are saddled with these student loans. It's nuts. And no wonder why we got Antifa and that was at the Occupy Wall Street people, because people are like, man, you sold us down the river, man. You did, corporate America, government. And they won't obviously put the burden where it should be, which is the government giving these schools unlimited access to our money as a taxpayer. But something's going to have to happen without question. And I hope what happens is more and more people say, especially men, because we know men are hated on college campus. This is not really debatable. I was just reading the University of Wisconsin had to reinstate one of their football players when they had evidence that they refused to use to clear his name. And Michigan State did the same thing with an athlete, and they had to pay this guy $750,000 so we wouldn't sue. So we have all these things going on against men on college campuses all over the place. And it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people. The thing that ticks me off is a lot of these schools are going to pay these kids out with taxpayer money, and that's not right. And so I just think the whole education system needs to be just completely revamped. but we're going to have a generation of people saddled with debt. I wish we could just write that off. It'd be nice, Tina, if we could just say, screw all that. I didn't sign up for this. But we can't. So I don't know. I'm not going to forgive it, though. You can't forgive debt on these people. I mean, they did take it. They were adults, even though they weren't far from being children. But still, at some point, yeah, someone's going to have to bear the brunt because they did choose to go and take this debt. So it's sad. Hopefully people recognize what the shenanigans are. They're adding administrators. It's not even the professors anymore who are the insane ones. It's the administrators. I mean, I was reading the University of Michigan has like 8 diversity and inclusion officers. I'm just like, what? It's friggin' insane, man. And so they've added all these diversity inclusion officers, but we don't have professors, not adding professors. And it's just, the whole thing is just corrupt as all can be. And the reason for that is because the government controls the purse strings. And when the government controls the purse strings, and we've been given cheap money to the schools to expand, to grow, they're just adding fluff. And it's not bringing any value to the society, not bringing any value to the general population. Certainly it's hurting people who take on the debt. So we'll see what it has. I'm thankful I don't have student loans, that's for sure. But I have 4, one in school now, and she's going to graduate from student loans from Georgia Tech. But it's going to be in a real, and don't take this wrong if you don't have a real degree, but back in the day when you're 55 and 60 years old, if you are today, you could go to college and get a non-real degree and do just fine because not everyone is forced to go to school. Nowadays, you can't. You just can't. You have to have a real degree in something, and so we shall see. But at the end of the day, I look at like Maine Maritime Academy. I'm like, why are we telling kids to go that route? I mean, you want to, or it just, I've always envied the guys that come out of the Navy because some of these guys from the Navy just know how to do stuff that I never learned in the Army as the infantry. Infantry, I could take apart an M16 in 2 seconds flat with a blindfold on, but that's not really a good use of a real world skill set out here in the United States, in the real world. But the people in the Navy, they learn how to do stuff all over the place. It's crazy. They know how to do stuff. The maritime academies, you go to one of those maritime academies, man, you're going to be living large. That's all there is to it. You're going to learn so much. You're going to go there, get a freaking great job right out of school. I don't know what the school debt is, but you'll be able to pay that off in 2 seconds flat. We should be Colorado School of Mines. There's a school of Colorado School of Mines. Why aren't we talking about that more? Enough of this going to get a history degree. That's just if you want to study history, you can do all that online at MIT, open course technology. Why not do that? It's free. Yeah, you're not going to get a degree. Well, get a degree in something else, but still do that. That's what's interesting to you. All right. But student loan defaults, I mean, it's just nuts. I don't know how we'll hit financials other than the people, because the only people that are going to have not to pay is the government, because they're the ones who issued all this debt. So I don't know. Do states usually charge tax on taxable gains? I don't know about states specifically, JD. I don't know. You'd have to look that up about your state specifically. New Hampshire does. I know that. They had no state income tax. I don't think Tennessee does anymore. We have a guy here from New Hampshire. I'm not sure about Tennessee anymore, but New Hampshire does. But I used to think Tennessee did, but I think 2016 they got rid of that. So my friend, I'm 59 years old. I have a separate Roth IRA that will contribute for many years. If I change my traditional 401k, yes. So if I change my traditional 401k to a Roth 401k, we'll have to wait 5 years before I can access the Roth 401k. So what you could do is once you separate from service, you could roll that Roth 401k over to your Roth IRA, and then you don't, because it's been open for more than 5 years. But if you keep the Roth 401k as is, you're gonna have to wait that 5 years for sure. Yeah, Presque Isle, man, Presque. You want to go north? Presque Isle is up north, my friends. Woo, that's way up there. Right on, Edward. I imagine, I don't know if you're native or not, but that's I've never been up that neck of the woods for sure. So that's fantastic. All right, let's see here. Wants to retire. So Naval Lamp, I am 51, want to retire 55. Does rule of 55 apply only to regular 401ks or Roth 401ks as well? Yeah, I imagine the Roth 401k, I don't know for sure, but if you look at the, I can't remember the code, 72T, I think is what it is. The exception is the 10% penalty. It doesn't it didn't say explicitly to the traditional 401k. So I would imagine, yes, that you'd be fine. I would think you still have to have that on, for 5 years, though, to avoid paying taxes on that money. Just because that's the way the Roths work. You have to have it open for 5 years. So I would think there, my friend, that you're not going to get the rule of 55, sort of 10% penalty. You won't have that as long as you separate from service after the age of 54. Whether or not you pay the 10% penalty of the income tax on it, that'd be different if it hasn't been open for 5. Well, I guess it won't be different because you're not 55. So yeah, so you have access to it without paying the 10% penalty as long as you're separate from service at the age of 55. But you won't have access to it without taxes. So just keep that in mind. All my bonds are my 401k. That's the way it should be, man. Absolutely. Does the municipal pension go against total income when it has to do a contribution? Yeah, so municipal pension is not considered earned income, Thomas. So if it's not considered earned income, you can't make contributions towards a Roth. Now, if you're married and your wife makes earned income, as long as it's more than $13,000, then you're good. She can put her amount in, was $6,500 or something like that, and you could put your $6,500 in, even if you have no earned income. As long as she does, you're covered without question. But if you're single, you got to have earned income. Our mutual fund, I think mutual funds are the way out. Yeah, no, I think that's I think mutual funds are absolutely on the way out, AK, and the reason for that is simple: is because they're more expensive, they're not as tax efficient, and you can only trade them once a day. The benefits of mutual funds are that you can make dollar cost averaging for sure. But I think when I say on the way out, do I think there's not going to be any mutual funds 5 years from now? No, I don't think that. But absolutely, I think that at the end of the day, the mutual fund industry is going to shrink. That's something that's always interested me too. They always say, the movement of money away from mutual funds or from stock funds or something like that, but they never clarify, was that mean it's just going to stock ETFs? They just, so if you look at CNBC, they say, whoa, big movement from stock mutual funds, man. Look at this big movement from stock funds. Well, maybe it's moved from stock funds because it's going to stock ETFs. They never say that. And so, again, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I still wonder if that's just under guilt by omission. They're omitting what they know to be true, which is it's not leaving the stock market. It's just going from stock mutual funds to stock ETFs. So no reason to have a mutual fund if you can get the ETF, other than dollar cost averaging. If you're only putting $250 a month in, the mutual fund is still going to be preferable without question, because it's an open-ended order. There's no commissions on the front end unless you're buying it through a broker. And because that you're only placing a trade once a day, you don't actually place a trade. You just deliver the money, and the mutual fund company takes care of all that stuff. And you just let it roll. You say, okay. And then at the end of the day with the ETF, you actually literally got to go in there and make the trade. And that's a hassle, and it costs money to do that too. When you buy American fund on TD Ameritrade, where's the load found? Yeah, Rick, I don't know, man. Maybe they don't charge you the load. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool if you could buy that at NAV. That's called buying an A share at NAV. NAV is a net asset value. So if you could buy an A share at NAV of American funds through TD Ameritrade, actually, I'm just going to look that up. Hold on just a second. Oh man, I tell you. Can you buy? Hold on a sec. Can you buy American funds at NAV at TD Ameritrade at TD Ameritrade? If this is the case, that's a freaking smoking thing here. So let's see. Hold on just a second. So I'm asking DuckDuckGo, because we don't use Google, we use DuckDuckGo. Can I buy American funds? All right. Okay, hold on just a second. TD, there are currently 167 American funds available to trade on TD Ameritrade, 55 of which do not have any transaction fees. Some of these funds have a load while others do not. Before choosing to invest in one of these mutual funds, you should pay close attention to the cost and the gross expense rate. Okay. All right. TD Ameritrade charges a fixed commission of $49.99 for buying and selling a transaction fee mutual fund. I can't tell, man. I'd probably just call or email them, Rick. That's yeah, okay. So one of the most popular funds is the American Balance Fund, which is okay. They say, okay, let's see. The fund is available in 3 different share classes, which represent different fee structures. Yeah, I can't tell. If you can get American funds at NAV, even if you're only paying $49.99, I'd do that. I love American funds, as I've stated many, many times before. I'm a huge fan of American funds. What happens with a mutual fund? Actually, I was listening to this podcast the other day. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I can't remember the guy's name. Jason Parker. That's what it was. Jason Parker. I can't remember the name of the podcast. Whatever. Anyway, but he made a good point with a low-based fund, and I'm not against commission funds, man. I'm telling you, if you can buy American funds and pay a front-end loan, we'll just say 2.5% on the front end, I'd much rather have you do that than pay 1% to some asset manager. I mean, you're going to do better in American funds. I don't know. Most likely you'll pay less fees, a significant less fees, at least in the American funds, than you will to the asset manager. And if you're paying less fees, it doesn't take a rocket science to realize you'll probably do better financially. All right, so what happens is when you're buying a loaded fund, you have $10,000 you're putting in. Well, you're going to lose, we'll just say 2.5% on the front end. It's going to be more than 2.5%, but it's only $10,000, but just to make the point. So you're going to start with $9,750. That's how American funds or any front-end load company works. They're going to take the money right out of the gate. And the problem with me when I used to be a broker, a financial advisor, a financial consultant, a financial planning specialist, when I got my CFP, the folks at Smith Barney said, we're going to give you a new title, financial planning specialist, an FPS. Whoop-de-flip-and-do. But anyway, so you're starting, I'll never forget. So we put people in American funds, A shares, and let's say they put $50,000 in there and there's a 3.5% commission. They get their first statement immediately down in value. And it was always tough because you're like, man, you charge me 3.5%. So my first statement, I'm looking at, $48,000, and that's before any up or down of the market. And so the market took a dump after you placed them, he sent on $45,000. Not a good first month of business. I used to hate that, and that's why we went to what's called C shares, which are essentially asset under management fees, 1% fee, or just a good old fashioned fee based accounts. Because it's tough. That first statement you get, you're like, I'm already down money. What? And they say, you got my money. You got $2,500 for putting me in $10,000 into or whatever it is, $2,000 into a mutual fund, and people would not be happy by that, and that wasn't good, and that was always bad, and so people recognized that was bad, which is why they went to the assets under management, the fee based, not because they're holier than thou as much as they like to tell you. Ooh, I also want to do a story on fiduciaries, but because it's easier to hide the fee. It just literally is, man. But anyway, so my man Jason Parker, let's see if I can't find his podcast. I liked it actually. Jason Parker here. Hold on just a second. It was good. It wasn't the best podcast, but it was good. If I can't find him, hold on just a second. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, recently played. Library shows. Let's see, because I like telling you guys what other podcasts you should be listening to. There's the Boglehead podcast, by the way. If you have a chance, the Boglehead podcast. I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of Boglehead podcast. If you want to listen, there's Gaining Perspective. That's from an advisor perspective. So that's a good podcast. That's Larry Swedroe is on there a lot. What's his name? Alan Roth is on there. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I don't know where this. Maybe I didn't subscribe. Sound Retirement Planning. That's what it is. Sound Retirement Planning. So that was a pretty good podcast. Sound Retirement Planning. So if you get a chance, listen to him. And if you like hockey, Spittin' Chicklets. That's another good podcast if you're a hockey fan. So Sound Retirement Planning, I was a fan of that. Anyway, so what his point was, you're putting $100,000 in, you're paying a commission on the front end. You're going to immediately his point was you're immediately going to start with less money than what you put in inherently. you put into a fixed annuity, at least you know that you're getting $100,000 of it that's drawing interest right out the gate. Whereas if you're buying a brokerage A-share mutual fund, you're going to start with less amount. I thought that was pretty interesting. So Paul says, have some real estate losses on the books. I sell some lots in Florida. How do I represent these losses? And you're right. Yeah, you're just going to have, I don't know. I'm not sure how to do real estate losses in there. I guess you'd have to mess around with the real estate area of Right Capital and just mess around and say you're selling something that has a loss on it from a cost basis. So you create a property, Paul, say $100,000, it's worth $50,000, and you're going to sell it. That's how you do it. I haven't dived too much into that. I just don't know. But I imagine just do that. Create a property, say it's undervalued, and you're going to sell it. It gives you a chance to sell it, and that should take care of it right there. Jack says, if I have an IRA, is there any investment I can move my money into so that when I convert to a Roth? No. All right. So Jack says, if I have an IRA, is there an investment I can move my money into so that when I convert it to a Roth, it won't be treated as ordinary income when it comes out? No. If it comes out of your IRA, it's ordinary income. That's all there is to it. I guess if you had post-tax contributions, Jack, but again, I don't. That gets way too in the weeds on terms of aggregation rules and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, there's no. If it's coming out of an IRA, it's going to be taxed as OI. No other way around that. On Ted's talk on student loans, so Greg says, say J. Samuel on Ted's talk on student loans. Yeah, total scam, predatory loans. Government colleges are in league with each other. Man, I completely agree with that. Government and colleges are in each other on student loans. I mean, I got the I completely agree. Completely agree. It's all fake, man. And I hate to be like the red pill. That's such a cliche anymore, but the whole thing is just a freaking scam. And it's all the rich getting richer on the back of the poor. And what I mean the rich is the administrators at the diversity and inclusion officers at University of Michigan are making well into six figures. The government entities, it's not the politicians, it's the bureaucrats who are making well into six figures, who are pushing the legislation or the regulation out there. You know, the whole thing like Dear Colleague, which really set off men to be accused of, I mean, literally men sneeze wrong and they're being accused of sexual harassment on college campus. It's just, these are facts. And yet there's no recourse for men whatsoever. And we see it happen time and again. And a lot of the victims are actually black men. And it's nuts. It's nuts. And we know this Dear Colleague letter from 2011. Obama didn't pen that, but his administration did for sure. And the colleges said, oh, Obama, we got to make sure we retain our government money. So we're going to have all these diversity inclusion officers. The whole thing is a scam. Sandra Day O'Connor, man, she's the one who allowed affirmative action to continue on in 2003, I think. And she says, we have 25 years, we'll need this. And that's it. And now that's 16 years ago. So 9 more years, according to Sandra Day O'Connor. Maybe it was 2001. But anyway, back in the early part of 2000, she was the 5th vote in favor of affirmative action as long as it increased diversity and inclusion. All right. So is there any wonder now we're hearing all this diversity and inclusion? Because they can't do it on skin color only. They have to do it on diversity. And so Sandra Day O'Connor said it's okay to discriminate against Asians in Boston at Harvard or against whites and whatever you want to do. It's okay to discriminate as long as there's diversity and inclusion. And the colleges knew where the money was. And so they said, we're going to make sure that we have diversity and inclusion. It's nuts, nuts. And so now 17, 18 years later, we're still in Sandra Day O'Connor said it'd be 25 years and we won't have to do that anymore. And here we are, 2019, still having to do it. And it actually is hurting the people it's supposed to intend it mostly. And it's nuts. And yet the government bureaucrats never get held accountable. The college administrations don't. Donna Shalala, who was under the Clinton administration, all right, she went to the University of Miami to be their president for many, many years, enacted many, many left-wing policies. And now she's congresswoman in Miami. This is the whole, look, the Republicans do the same damn thing. I mean, look at Paul Ryan. I just posted yet today on YouTube. Paul Ryan, he's no longer living in Jamestown or Janesville, Wisconsin. He's moving his butt back to D.C. because that's where the money is. He's not going back to Wisconsin. He knows where the money is. He's going back to D.C. so he can be some big corporate lobbyist. It's the same thing. It's both sides. That's why the swamp needs to be drained, which is one of my best things that Trumpster is doing, is moving these things to various Department of Energy. He's moving an office Department of Agriculture to Kansas City. One, he's moving to Denver. I forgot what that was. BLS, Bureau of Land Management, BLM, Bureau of Land Management. So he's moving these people out of the swamp into the hinterlands, where a lot of these bureaucrats, I guarantee, have never been. And they're probably scared, like, these people are scary. People in Presque Isle, Maine. And a lot of them don't want to take those jobs because they got to run shoulders with us riffraff. And I think it's awesome. I love that. I think it's great. I put the burden on individual making bad choices. Yeah. Society, I agree with that. Society doesn't make anyone do anything. I completely agree. But at the same time, they've been sold a false promise. You remember the law school stuff? I mean, I remember back in the 90s, I thought about going to law school when I bought that stupid book. I forgot what it was. It said all the law schools, and they all said the average graduate makes this kind of money coming out of law school from, University of Rochester or whatever it was. You're like, really? That's pretty good. It's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's completely fake, and no one paid the price. No one did. And yet all these kids graduate law school, huge amounts of debts, and they were sold as false advertising. And so I get what you're saying. No one made anyone do anything, my friend, up there in Washington. But the problem is, if you're false advertising, you should be held accountable. That's what this was, and it still is. It's false advertising to this day. And no one's being held accountable. That's nuts. What's another reason why I don't mean to sound all this, but I love it. I love taxing. I love the fact that they tax the rich colleges. The money they got. The freaking, you don't talk about the. I always draw blanks on words I gotta say. I'm only 49 years old, but the endowments. They're taxing the endowments. I think that's great. So we got the camel's nose in there, and now we're going to burn through, because these endowments have more money than God, essentially, and they should not have the ability to dictate policy like they do and fund various causes on the right, left. I don't care, tax-free. I think it's freaking fantastic. That's tax the rich right there. You want tax, and Trump saying, they're all people saying Trump TCJA only gave tax cuts to the rich. No, it's the exact opposite. It taxed the rich because these college endowments got taxed. Not much, but it's a start. It's a start. And just like what happened under George W. Bush, when I was a rabid Republican, which I am not anymore, we said Bush will do it right. Yeah, he's going to control government. And then when we turn the keys over to Obama, we realized the mistake we made. The same thing is going to happen here, my friends. You wait. Trump just started the beginning of taxing the endowments. And you wait when Bernie's not going to get in there, but Elizabeth Warren, it's going to be awesome. They're going to say, yeah, you're going to have to pay up. And they're going to say, oh, we want Trump back. At least only tax us 25 basis points. And the left is going to get you because you're the people who got the money. And I'm going to sit there and smile and say, yeah, sucks to be you. What were you doing though before? You're all saying, oh, Trump is going to tax the poor to benefit the rich. And he did the exact opposite. I can't wait for that. Yeah, vengeance stinks, but it's going to be fun, especially when these guys are killing students in there for sure. All right, let's keep going. Maine Maritime Academy. Right on, man. Agree to tradecraft, right on. Yeah, right. All right, so here, we'll get off that. All right, so if I do a Roth conversion, says Julio, do I need to pay tax? Julio, that's the question I get every time. The answer is I don't know. So Julio says, if I do a Roth conversion now, do I have to pay taxes now, or will I get taxed for underpayment? I've seen both. I have seen both. I've seen most people doing Roth conversions not have to pay tax underpayments, but that was back in the day. And they weren't doing big Roth conversions. So now if we're doing 20, 50, 75,000, the answer is probably it's going to be different, that you will have to pay an underpayment penalty. So I would probably suggest that you pay some taxes on the front end. Absolutely. I think the penalty, I had an underpayment penalty this last year. I think it was 5%. So it was, wasn't going to make or break me. I would have rather kept that 5%. But if the alternative is to have less money by Roth, I think I'd rather just pay the underpayment penalty. That's me. I don't know your circumstance, but just keep that in mind. Better to leave a. Yeah, no, better. So our friend in Washington, better leave to be a welder, plumber, carpenter, electrician, a real job, make more than that, and $100K 100,000 worth, then 100,000 worthless degree. I think that gets a little bit overplayed sometimes. I get what you're saying, but there is college degrees that pay. I don't want to be completely anti higher education. I'm not like that at all. I think going and getting a history degree nowadays is you shouldn't be doing that. But there is benefits to both. I just think it has to be well thought out. And there is no benefit whatsoever. And I'd even argue this going into MD class nowadays, medical doctor, you got to be very careful approaching that with the level of debt you're taking on, because far left. Oh, looks like we're buffering. Hold on just a second. Looks like we're buffering for a second. But Kevin Drum from Mother Jones said, if you want to reduce the cost of healthcare, you're going to have to pay less to doctors and hospitals. And Kevin Drum is not some right winger. Mother Jones is a far left rag. And that's 100% true. He says you're not going to be able to reduce costs without paying these people less. Thus, if you go into become a medical doctor and you're taking $200,000 or $300,000 in debt, you got to look at the future and say, does the future look good for me to have $200,000 or $300,000 of debt, knowing full well that I'm going to be squeezed by less and less Medicare payments? And look at J.O., my man, Jaeoh. And I don't have his book here. Maximize Your Medicare.com. He talks about this all the time too. He says, he talks about the excessive charges on Part B and stuff, the excess charges. And he doesn't talk about all the time, but he talked about with me, and I think he did a couple of podcasts on this, that what's going to happen is Medicare is going to squeeze the payments they pay. So what they usually pay $30,000, only pay $27,000. Well, that's a 10% decline in a doctor's pay. And so now we got excess charges of 15%. More and more doctors are going to say, I'm being squeezed. I'm going to have to charge excess charges of that 15% that's allowed by Medicare. So you better look for your Medicare Advantage or Medigap policies to make sure that you are covered for excess charges. Because if you're not, and Medicare, CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, start squeezing docs more and more docs are going to have excess service charges for over basically 15% of what Medicare will pay. And that comes out of your pocket. So you better make sure you have the right plan, which would be Plan G for Medigap. And I don't remember Medicare Advantage plans. He said how it works. I just forgot. But Plan G, not Plan N. N is in November. Plan G will cover you. Plan F too, if you're still on Plan F, for excess charges, but Plan N will not. That's a big deal. Sales tax high in Tennessee. Yeah, I think Tennessee does that, or they used to tax dividends. I think that's right. What can happen? Oh man. So I didn't bring my book. Anyway, someone on this YouTube channel told me to read the book, Holy Grail Macroeconomics by Peter Koo, K-O-O. It's man, I've done a couple posts on that. This book is insane. It's you're sitting there thinking it's the best, one of the best books I've read. I've only read 2 chapters so far. It's nuts because they negative interest rates. That's what he talks about with Japan. Why was Japan in such dire straits for so long? Did you know from 1982 to 2013, you basically made no money in the Japan stock market. None. Crazy. Oh, we'll go to the bond market. Negative interest rates. You made no money investing your money. None. Isn't that crazy? You got to get that book, The Holy Grail of Macroeconomics. And if you do, click on my link so I can get paid big bucks, 4% commission. So if you buy something for $10, I get, what's that, 40 cents? It's real money, my friends. Real money. So if you buy that and that guy down the street buys that, I get 80 cents. Woo-wee. Anyway, negative interest rates are a big deal, Peter, without question. We're not there yet. But like I did that video the other day on Japan or Germany offering. So let me show you what a zero coupon bond is. Just some of y'all know this. Some of you may or may not. I've always been a fan of zero coupon bonds. It's so easy to understand. So you're buying a bond at 75. You're not getting a coupon. You're not getting the interest. That's why they call it a zero coupon, because there's no interest payment. It just matures at 100. And this is just an example. So, you hold that for 20 years. It starts at 75. You know for a fact you'll get 100 in 20 years, whatever that is. And I got my trusty calculator, but I'm not going to figure that out. But anyway, that's what a zero coupon bond is. It's freaking awesome because you say, okay, I'm giving you $75 today, government, and you're going to give me $100 back at some point in the future. You don't get a coupon. You're not clipping coupons like the old days of bonds. You're not doing that. You have literally no interest at all. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the taxes. There's something like phantom income tax on that. I just can't remember how it works. But anyway, you're still paying tax. Don't get me wrong. All right, so that's what a zero coupon bond is. All right, so Germany is issuing a literal zero coupon bond at 100 that matures at 100 30 years from now. And it was in such high demand that when they issued it at 100, people were paying. This is freaking nuts. 102 for a bond that's going to mature at 100. So not only are they locking in a guaranteed loss, they're not getting any coupons. They're losing to inflation too. That's 30 years. Now, it was easy to make fun of these guys, but I don't know who's buying up those bonds. Like a lot of pensions, a lot of insurance companies, and other governments, they have a charter that says they can only buy government bonds. And so, I mean, it's almost like the individual mandate. Insurance companies loved it because it guaranteed them a product to sell to every single person who's breathing in the United States. So in this case, the Germany government can say, hey, you have to buy our bonds. We're going to issue these bonds at wherever the hell we want, and you're going to buy them. It's kind of good business to be in, by the way. But anyway, so I thought that was funny that people are going to buy, and yet they were, because the price was issued as zero coupon, literally 100 for 100, and people were buying them in more demand than supply. So the price went up to 102, which means there's little negative interest rates for 30 years. We've never been here. Japan is a perfect example of what could happen, but we've never been here, which is why I posted that video today, or not video. I did a blog post today that talked about what was not using the set. If you take out this, let me show you. Hold on just a second. Heritage right here. So I did a blog post today on it's time to, who knows what that car is, by the way. It's time for some new thinking on retirement planning, because the issue was that we've always been using this 4% rule. And the reason we use the 4% rule is because that is what survived the 70s. The 70s were horrific. And so because of that, if you take out the 70s, though, the 4% rule, we can go way, way above that. And why should we take out the 70s? Because the 70s were insane when it came to inflationary times. And we're not that. We're the exact opposite now. The 70s were insane when it came to inflation. Insane. And high taxes, high inflation, it was just bad. We're not there at all anymore. Those days are gone, and I don't know if they'll ever come back. I don't know. And if you look historically, at the U.S. at least, that was it. We haven't had any kind of other semblance of high inflation other than the 70s. I mean, maybe a little bit with deflation in the 30s. Yeah, I don't know about the 20s, but I mean, you see what I'm saying? So we're using the 4% rule to give us a safe withdrawal rate because it survived the inflationary days of the 70s, and yet that was a one-time thing. And if you look at Japan, you look at what's going on in Germany, you look at what's going on now with the U.S., we're not in inflationary times. We're not. And so we take out the 70s, then the 4% rule is well inadequate to a comfortable retirement plan for what you can take out of your own portfolio. And even with the 4% rule and the 70s thrown in there, the median was 5.8. That's at a 60-40 stock bond portfolio too, by the way. So I find it like, why are we so, we got to think about this differently without question. I use this as an example. Oh man, that hurt. That's my mom's first car she bought. And I'll share this story with you, which I wrote about here because it was ingrained on my mind. So we didn't have that was the first car she bought in 1983. That's old Ford Escort, powdered blue. I remember that like it was yesterday. And we had moved off the island by then into town. And that car would break down all the time. I remember it break down all the time. And my mom's a single mom trying to raise 3 kids. She was working as an accountant or a bookkeeper at a gay restaurant in Old Port, and not making much money. And that car was breaking down all the time. And it was a Ford Escort. And I remember, we had a TV at this point, and I remember seeing these union guys, these big burly union guys with their sledgehammers bashing on Japanese cars. And I just remember the dichotomy, is that the right word? The dichotomy, I don't know what it is, but seeing these big burly union guys bashing the Japanese automobiles while my 5'2" mom, probably $1.10, was sitting there scrambling to get by, could barely pay to put oil in the tank to heat the house, buying one of the cars that they built poorly. And I'll never get that, because I said, wait a second, we can't get by because you're crappy cars, and yet the Japanese are giving us a car that actually works and helps out the lower middle class, never mind the poor people like us, and yet we're supposed to be sympathetic to your side. Why don't you make a freaking car that can work so my mom doesn't have to scramble to decide whether or not to put oil in the propane tank, propane or whatever, I can't remember how we heated our house, or getting a car fixed so she can go to work. That it took me a long time to get over that, because I saw that. My mom's got, I was the oldest. My brother's 5 years younger. My sister's 7 years younger. Dad's gone. And I'm saying this isn't right. This isn't right that these guys are out there, pestering people who buy these Japanese vehicles when they're just trying to get to work. And I'm still not over that, because that was bullying. That was bullying. Bullying, taking advantage of poor people who had no voice. And anyway, the point about that was going back to Japan. The idea was the reason we're buying all the Japanese products is because they were good, they're reliable. And then so Reagan and Thatcher, they got rid of the menace of Soviet tyranny, but they also brought in the era of globalization. And globalization has been, by and large, a good thing, but now we're on the back end of globalization being bad. Now, actually, foreign-made goods are crap. Most of us will agree that Chinese-made goods are not as good as American-made goods. Unfortunately, American-made goods cost just a fraction more, but Americans don't want to pay that fraction more. And me too. It's sad. It freaking depresses me, man, because we got people here in the United States who are making good quality products now, unlike they did in the 70s. But because we're so used to buying overseas stuff and just disposing of it, we're not buying our own people's products, even though it doesn't cost that much more. But it does cost a little bit more because the labor costs are high. And anyway, what's happened here is the exact opposite. So back in the day in the 70s, we had big union strikes. We didn't have the free trade that we theoretically have now. And so we couldn't, you didn't have an economics. You can choose this or that. You see what I'm saying? So the price of beef goes up, you choose chicken. You call it substitution effect. We couldn't really have that in the 70s and the early 80s simply because we could only buy what was in the store, and globalization hadn't taken over yet. But then you go into the 90s, you got the Tony Blair government in the UK, you got Clinton, and they bought the new Democrat, the new wave, the third way, or whatever they call it. They bought hook on and sinker in globalization. And even Obama did. And now we are seeing on the back end of that, the unions are no more. Private sector unions, unfortunately, or fortunately, however we want to look at it, but in some way, unfortunately, Richard Trumka, he sold his soul to socialism and illegal immigration. Can't trust any of those guys, and you can't trust the corporate Chamber of Commerce people either from DC. The local Chamber of Commerce is fine, but the corporate guys, you can't trust any of those guys. So at the end of the day, though, there's no striking power on private sector unions. Government sector can strike all day long, but no one cares because they really shouldn't be unionizing, as FDR said. And so we don't have that kind of ramification of economic malaise, which is what my man Richard Koo talked about in the 70s with UK and the United States. And because of that, and because we have this trade coming in, we won't have to just take crappy products made domestically. We don't. And so ultimately, inflation is not going to happen. It's just not. And inflation doesn't happen. Why are we using the 4% rule? Anyway, I know it's a long-winded thing about negative interest rates, Peter, but there's a lot going on there. And, some of y'all might remember that you couldn't buy textiles that were made in, South Korea. You had to buy them that were made in North Carolina. And I just remember like tough-skin jeans and corduroys and stuff like that. You bought what was there. There wasn't that many choices. And now it's not the case anymore. And, anyway, it'll be interesting to see. And the substitution effect will reign supreme, which means if Under Armour gets stupid, I'll never buy Nike because they hire slave workers, but I'll buy Adidas. They probably do too, but I'll pretend they don't. But anyway, at the end of the day, there's a huge substitution effect. If they act stupid, I'll buy them. If they act stupid, I'll buy them. As long as those goods are not being monopolized, we'll have exposure to other goods, which will keep the prices down and keep labor costs. So labor won't be the striking thing that brings on inflation. All right, so my man Al says, Josh, pay extra payment each month towards my principal. Does the extra payment, my regular mortgage payment, calculate together for the interest? That I don't get it. So if I pay extra payment each month towards my principal, does the extra payment and my regular mortgage payment calculate together for the? Yeah, I'm not sure what you're saying, brother. So I know I pay extra payment. I'll just tell you what I do, Al. I pay extra. I think I pay $400 a month extra. And that doesn't change anything for my monthly payment. It doesn't. Now, I looked at it the other day. I used the mortgage calculator at dinkytown.net. It's spelled just like it sounds, dinkytown.net. They got a great mortgage amortization calculator. And me paying an extra $500 a month, I think I'm saving $80,000 total in interest payments. And I'm cutting off my payments by 5 years or 6 years or something. I can't remember. And then I started thinking, maybe that's not the way to go. And I'll share with you some stories, videos I'll do this week about other mechanisms to do that instead. I'm not there yet. I'm still thinking this through a little bit, but I'll share with you some ideas I have on that instead of paying extra, because we're not going to be in this house until the mortgage is paid. By the way, I don't know if I told you all, I'm on an ARM, by the way, an adjust rate mortgage. I had my termite guy in here the other day, old Kevin from Massey Services, and we got to talking. And we did, it was interesting. I gave my book, that Social Security, you can retire on Social Security. And I just told him, I've always been, a conservative mortgagee, always had 30-year fix. And 2 years ago, I said, I just think the rates are going to stay low. And there's a big gamble. We'll see what happens. And so far I've been right. It's nuts. I mean, just again, looking at the 10-year treasury at 1.5, it's been a gamble that I'm right on, and we shall see. I had a 5-1 arm, or is it 5? I can't remember what I got anymore. But the point about that is we're not going to be in this house for more than 5 years, and we know more than 10 years. So we know for a fact the most that mortgage will get, I think, is like 5.25 or something like that for the last 2 years of the loan. I can't remember what it was, but so the more I pay on principal, the less I'll pay on my interest rate on the back end, if that makes sense, Al. Ronald Willis in the house, Ms. Tweedy. I don't have any videos on SEP IRAs, Ms. Tweedy. Is that something that's of interest to you? If so, tell me why. Brian, I maxed out my Roth N457 just to open a brokerage account. I'm thinking about buying dividend stocks in this account. Is that a good idea? No, you don't want dividend stocks in a brokerage account, man. Don't. We want to avoid any kind of 1099 income if we can all possibly avoid that. You want growth stocks that don't have ETFs in particularly, or stock. If you just want stocks, that's fine. But you want growth, little dividends to no dividends, certainly no turnover, which is why ETFs are preferable. You want your dividend stocks in your Roth account, without question. You want to avoid 1099 income. If you can avoid 1099 income, it'll be capital appreciation, which will only be taxed as long-term capital gain. If you decide to sell some, and don't forget, you can still pick your specific identification of the shares you want to sell. And then on top of that, your Roth will grow tax-free to include those dividends. Does that make sense? So we want no 1099 income at all, no 1099 DIV. Can I roll my IRA into SWMB? I don't know what SWMB's Roth is, Lee, which has been open for 5 years. Can you convert it? Sure, I guess, but I don't know what SWMB is. I'm not sure. Then if I now start contributing to a Roth 401k instead of the traditional 401k, with contributions to the Roth 401k not be accessible for 5 years? Off the top of my head, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if someone else knows. I just can't remember. Roth 401k. I know with the Roth IRA, you have access to your principal at any time, contributions. I just, on top of the head, I can't remember the Roth 401k. So we have to look that up. My man Choi says, or Choi Maddox says, thank you for your last video. Investing like this, you're paying too much tax. In fact, Brian Marcus, watch that video. I did a video exactly what you're asking here, man. Brian Marcus, look at my last video I did. Investing like this, you're paying too much tax, because that's what you're walking into, that trap for sure. My 457B distributions will come out as income, W-2, so they can be used to contribute to Roth. That's quite fantastic. So if they come out as W-2 income, imagine they're coming out as FICA tax too. So that's good, Jill. There you go. Perfect. 457B distributions comes out as income, earned income. She's probably paying FICA, W-2 income. So that means she can contribute to a Roth. Fantastic. My man Ross in the house from PEI. Howdy, Josh, Deb, K Paso, Little League World Champs. Congratulations to Louisiana for the win. Hey, Louisiana. Oh, speaking of which, let me just real quick. I want to talk about a fiduciary versus non-fiduciary. All right, so I want to share something with you. I get this all the time. Are you a fiduciary? I mean, it's a good question to ask. It doesn't matter. All right, so let me ask you a question. Fiduciaries will use these as RIA, registered investment advisors, fee only. They're not supposed to earn commissions on anything, so they inherently can't sell things like annuities. I don't know if they have any non-fee annuities or no commissions annuities. I don't know if that's out there yet. I imagine at some point there will be. So let's just say you have $200,000 add to your portfolio with your fiduciary advisor. You can go to a firm like USAA who has a guaranteed annuity, fixed annuity, not an indexed annuity, not a variable annuity, not even an income annuity, just a good old-fashioned fixed annuity. Doesn't get any simpler than that. That you're going to get 3% guaranteed minimum and maybe more if rates go up. All right, 3% guaranteed minimum, maybe more. And you have unencumbered access to your money at any time because you've had the account open, in this case, for 7 years. Which for USAA, and I don't know if it's still the case, it used to be the thing on their flexible retirement annuity, their FRAN. Once it was open for 7 years, your deposits in year 8 were completely free and liquid the very next day. All right, so you're getting 3% on this guaranteed annuity, no less. Maybe not anymore because rates have since gone down, but if rates did go up, you could get more, and it's completely liquid. 100% guaranteed by USAA, 100% tax deferred while it sits there. All right, so you're going up to your fiduciary advisor and saying, okay, I want my money safe, I want it accessible, I want it liquid, and I'd like to make some money on it too. And she says, no, we can do better than that. I'm going to put you in some bonds, some corporate bonds. We'll even say they pay 3.5. Are they liquid? Well, maybe you could sell them, but who knows what the prices you're going to sell. Are they taxed? Absolutely. They're taxed as ordinary income. Are they guaranteed? Well, as long as the corporation who issued them doesn't go kaput, they're guaranteed, but they could certainly go kaput. What's a safer bet? Also, how does she get paid? Well, she gets paid from managing assets of fees. So in that case, she has every incentive whatsoever to tell you to avoid that annuity and buy the corporate bond. But what's the better investment? Well, unequivocally, it's the annuity with USA. It's not debatable. But if I got to buy the annuity with USA, I'll just say they charge me a commission, they're going to charge me a commission. Thus, they're not fiduciaries. Thus, I'm a fiduciary. See how that works? See how we can quickly turn this around on fiduciaries to say, tell us there, Mr. or Mrs. Fiduciary, what's the better route to take here? And we know for a fact if she's violating fiduciary standards, because if she says the better route to take is taking the bonds that she gets paid on over the annuity, which she won't, there's inherently a conflict of interest. That's not supposed to happen. So keep that in the back of your mind. Don't be a sucker for the fiduciary stuff. I'm not saying don't take that in consideration, but remember, fiduciaries have a conflict of interest, just like a salesman for a brokerage firm does, without question. And you can even say the fiduciary, you can say the fiduciary, should I use this money to pay down my debt? No, you're only paying 3.5%. We can get you more than that in the markets. Interesting. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah, Jason Parker, Sound Retirement Plan. You got it. American Funds, says Marie. I have Roth and traditional and American Funds. Is there any reason not to do a 401k instead of the traditional IRA I've always done, says my man Kenny? Well, there's tons of reasons. I mean, if you're in a high tax bracket, if you're single, yeah, man, absolutely. If you don't plan on living long to allow the tax-free to grow, there's a bunch of reasons. If you're married, you're not in a high, and when I mean a high tax bracket, usually 33% and above. If you're married, you're in a lower normal tax bracket, what us normal folks are in, then a Roth makes sense without question. But if you're single, I'd have to challenge that to some degree. If you're single in a high tax bracket, I don't think you should. I think you should do the traditional. My man Jack, retired at 51. Do we draw first from sale of rental property capital gains? I would be looking at the 401k traditional. Be looking at that as my money bucket right there, Jack. I would leave everything else alone, and I would draw from my 401k to get that puppy down as low as possible. It ideally be zeroed out by the time you hit 59 and a half, or by the time you hit Social Security age for sure. Ben says another great retirement there in Texas. Right on, man. ISIS. I'm a single mom, 52. The only debt I have is 80,000. Probably no mortgage. I have no retirement. Should I pay my house first and then invest, or start investing first? I can't do both. I think you gotta get some liquidity, ISIS. I would absolutely do start investing without question. The only debt you have, I'm presuming, is a mortgage. Did she say that? She didn't say. You just got to make sure you don't take on any more debt. You need liquidity. I mean, liquidity is king for sure. So let's fast forward to you're 62 years old. Maybe you don't have 80,000 left. Maybe you got 20,000 left in that mortgage. Well, at that point, you can pay it off with some of the liquidity you built up. But you might not be in that same house. Kids are out. I don't know. But you got to have liquidity. Cash is king. Liquidity is king. Equity, while great, doesn't put food on the table. Only thing that puts food on the table is cash. Being house poor is better than just being poor, but it's worse than being having a debt and some liquidity for sure. Hey, Mark is late. Tardy slip, Mark. Tardy slip. Save the mails. Nick says, you're out here working hard. Vanguard. Yeah, I don't know either. I'm presuming the VDAD-X is a dividend fund and HY is high yield. If it's, I don't know. If one's versus a bond versus stock, I go to stock every time, especially for 25-year buy and hold. Yeah, Pop Stu says, why don't they make all these large university endowment funds pay off the student debt? Exactly. That's what friggin' ticks me off, man. Oh, but we need this to do what exactly, Harvard? What? To make sure our students don't graduate with hundreds of thousands of debt? That's what's happening. I read that each 401k to a Roth is it's a new 401k timer. That's right. So Ninja Cat says, I read that each 401k conversion to Roth 401k rollover to a Roth occurs a new 5-year timer. Only after-tax contributions, not rollover to the Roth conversion, incurs a single 5-year timer. Is this true? I answered that question last week, and now I cannot remember. I think it had to do with the Roth IRA itself is going into Ninja Cat, but I'll see if I hold on just a second. I think I might have even done. I'm sure I did a video on that. I think I might have even done a blog post on that, but that's that book, by the way, Holy Grail Macroeconomics, Lessons from the Japan's Great Recession. Such a good book. Maybe I didn't do a blog post on that. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, Ninja Cat, but I'd answer that question from my man Peter the other day. Yeah, I don't see it on there, so I don't remember. So maybe Peter's on here. He can remember how I answer that. Is this correct? Oh. Hold on just a second. Ford Escort, right on, man. Do I know anything about longevity insurance? It sounds like living too long, Jimmy. Bruce said he fixed a ton of Ford Escorts. Maybe you're the one my mom was getting raked over the coals. Oh, man. Let's see. This crazy world only is. All right, hey, Josh, we're going to be sold anything. It's up to the end. Okay. Do you hold any FINRA licenses? Not anymore, Stephanie Walgreens. I refuse to be with FINRA. Are you a FINRA regulator? Is that why you're asking me? You can look me up in FINRA. I invite you to do that. And you will see a disclosure, which is why I said, screw them. I'm not playing that game anymore. Screw FINRA. And I don't manage money, by the way. My only investment advice is index funds. That's it. I don't make specific recommendations. I'll say index funds, total stock market index, S&P 500, all that's fine. Asset allocation we talk about. I don't manage money, no desire to manage money, and that's the way I like it. But FINRA, the whole thing's set against the little guy. It's set for the brokerage firms and for the regulators, and the little guys are the people holding the wet bag. So look me up, by all means. Look up Scanlon. There's only one in there. And you can see my disclosure. And because of that disclosure, I could not be hired by firms like Ed Jones, which is insane because the disclosure is all fake news. Yep, only people being held accountable are the little guys, so they never get a chance to challenge the big guys, 100%. If you do the Roth conversion, are the taxes due that quarter and not in any of the previous quarters? Yeah, I can't imagine the taxes are due then. And for the previous quarters, how could you pay the taxes in the previous quarters if you haven't done the income? But I'm not accountant, so I don't know. Do you ever listen to the Radical Personal Finance podcast? I don't remember. I have so many podcasts on here. I just don't know. Who's that? Jack? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe. So just real quick, the podcast I listen to repeatedly is I like Dennis Miller's podcast. I'm a big fan of Dennis Miller. If you don't like cussing, you won't like Dennis. He does cuss a little bit. I'll listen to the James Altucher podcast. I don't listen to Joe Rogan all that much. I have him on here. I don't listen to Jordan Peterson that much. I listen to this guy, Laura Murphy. They're interesting. That's my Bob Murphy guy, who's an Austrian economist from Texas Tech, if memory serves. Meb Faber. I listen to him on occasion. He's got some good hosts on there, and interviewees. I listen to that guy right there. This guy. That crazy guy, the Josh Scanlon podcast. He's got the best podcast out there. I listen to the Survival podcast, Jack Spurko. Haven't listened to him for a while, though. I need to get back on that. This one I like a lot. This is my man, Unbelievable. That guy's fantastic. That's a Christian podcast, but he's English. So he's smart because he has that accent, but he's fantastic. I listen to Voice of Martyrs Radio. Don't really listen that much anymore. I listen to, I haven't really listened to that much. I listen to my man, John Pugliano from Setting Podcast, Vanguard, of course. I can't remember Unthinkable. I'm not sure who that is. Your Money, Your Wealth, the Big Al, Your Money and Your Wealth. I listen to this guy. Let's see here. Just going over it, just in case you're interested. Who else? And if you guys, there's a couple podcasts here. That's a Bob Murphy show. The Veritas podcast, Veritas Forum is spectacular for Christian apologetics, by the way. Huge fan for sure. Cato Institute podcast. You can't go wrong with Cato Institute. My man, William Lane Craig right there. Can't go wrong with that guy. RZIM, Ravi Zacharias. So anyway, that's some of the Harvard Lunch Club. I do listen to that. Here's my man, Paul Wheaton, permaculture, right? He does a lot of permaculture, homesteading. He's a great podcaster. Miles Beckler, can never go wrong. If you're doing any kind of YouTube show, you need to listen to him. Some NPR stuff on there. I do listen to some NPR. I guess that's pretty much all I want to show you here. Permaculture Voices. Diego Garcia, I think, is that who does it? Ooh, Powerline podcast. So there you go. Listen to some Powerline podcast, Powerline blog podcast, Planet Money, and then finally some Prepper, Reason Magazine podcast. Got to listen to Reason Magazine. So lots of stuff. Radio Durham, be careful. Well, there's RZIM right there. Ravi Zacharias. So I got tons of podcasts. I guess I don't have the Radical Finance though, so my apologies. Anyway, do I listen? I mean, I got so many on here. Do I listen to them all? No, I just don't have time. But I do when I'm mowing and stuff. I have the podcast on in the background. Sergio in the house. Ray Lucia's podcast is still out there. That's good. I got his book on there. Sally says, you spent your life living around machinery. Your retirement plan, I'd like to stable horses. Turns out wild horses can drag you away. Ellen says for 2020, the Medicap F and C are being phased out for the newly eligible. Yep, that's why Plan G looks pretty good. Why does Sally keep saying high afros? Are you Sally? Are you trolling us or what here? We okay. Yeah, you. Tim Black said you go. Oh man. Kevin from Rochester. Hey, Tim Black, my current Toyota has been the most reliable car I ever owned, man. I bought mine from my mom, 1983 Toyota Tercel. Called her Betsy. That sucker was awesome. I loved it. Friggin' loved it. That's how I drove a stick. Driving down Maine, down through New Hampshire. Never knew how to drive a stick. Sitting out that highway, leaving Maine, going to New Hampshire. I could not drive. It's like, and the guy was like looking at me. I was getting scared. All these people behind me, like, go. And I was like, boom, boom, boom. And I finally was able to get it, and I made it back to Fort Drum in one piece. And after that, I was fine. But man, I'm honest, you can buy this car off me for $500. I said, you deal done. Driving it, and I said, I don't know how to drive it. And but I learned it for sure, and I miss Betsy like crazy. We're coming back from a Suicidal Tendencies show in Rochester, New York. And I was too drunk to drive. So my man, I forgot this guy's name. My man next, we had 4 or 5 of us in that tiny little, maybe 6 of us, that tiny little Turkle. And I was too drunk to drive. So my man, I forgot his name, was driving back, and we got hit by this deer. Friggin' nuts. And it totaled the car. I'll never forget that. I can't remember how we got home. I think we hitched a ride and we're in the back of some dude's pickup truck. I can't remember what road that was, from Syracuse to Watertown. Drunk as hell. And we're like standing up, like surfing, like 3 o'clock in the morning in the back of the pickup truck on the highway going 75 miles an hour. See, that's the thing, my friends. Men and boys do stuff like that. Girls do not. Men and boys are dumb. Girls are not. That's the fact. And so going back to, I haven't gone back, Camille Paglia, if you need to read her, she's a big feminist, but feminist in a good way. She says women have their own unique skill set, personality. They're different than men. And what she say, men are stupid enough to kill themselves, but they're smart enough to develop cures for cancer. I can't remember what it was, but she says the variability of men's parts, it's like way up here. Women are a lot less variable. That's Camille Paglia. And that's so true, because you'll never find a drunken girl. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a couple, but the vast majority of drunken girls aren't going to sit there in the back of a freaking old Chevy S10 pickup with a tire that's running low on whatever that road was, the highway going from Rochester to Watertown. It's like you're surfing when you're drunk as a skunk in freaking November in upstate New York. That doesn't happen. Normal people don't do that stuff, or at least only boys do that stuff. And it was kind of funny. So Camille Paglia, I can't remember her name. Clint said we had a 1973 bus. If it didn't break down, it would have caught fire. If you convert your traditional to a Roth, can you transfer the money by April? No, you have to do it by 31 December, Peter. 31 December is D-Day to get the conversions done. I'll do a lot of videos on end of year tax planning coming up. Yep. My man JD, we know JD, and anyway, I buy American cars. Been good ever since 1988. I've driven them all over 10 years, 14 years. Yeah, we got American cars now. We got Dodge Durango. I still got my Toyota Highlander and a Honda Odyssey. All good. Hello from North Georgia Mountains. Fred, is that? Nah, man, that's not, what's his name? Fritz, that's who we're talking about. Remember Fritz from a North Georgia Mountain. So Fred, I interviewed a guy named Fritz the other day from Retirement Manifesto, and he is in Blue Ridge, as a matter of fact. I wonder if that's where you're from. When I disowned my wife, I caught her cheating on me with a minority. No. Dude, if my wife cheated on me, I'm still better off than she is. Let's just put it that way. That's a stupid question, man. I might be dumb. I ain't that dumb. She could cheat on me with a minority, a non-minority. I don't even know what it is. She could cheat on me with a priest. I don't care. I still get the better end of that deal, my friend. If you only knew your old buddy Josh on the day before someone, the Florence Nightingale thing, or whatever it's called. It's a Florence Nightingale. She had sympathy. No, it was The guy from Back to the Future. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about. The dad, man. George McVeigh falling out the window because he's peeping Tom on Lorraine. And then she had the hots for him because she had to take care of him, the Florence Nightingale thing. That's like my wife. I was a peeping Tom on her. Let me just clear the air there. But she looked at me and said, that guy needs help. He is a loser. And she was right. My man Jimmy says he only drives 4 trucks. Yeah, I said in my video today, or not my video, in my blog post, is only until I met the people who had these old boxy F-150s who swore by those 4 trucks that I began to rethink my antipathy towards Ford. And I actually did buy a Ford minivan. I forgot what the name was called. And that worked great. So I had no problem with Ford ever since then. Oh, man. My man Ben said he has a Dodge 4x4. He just pulled a Dodge Charger out of our local river ditch yesterday. The lady was happy. Man, that is that's awesome, man. That is awesome. Man, that is funny. Then there's my man Heflin Auto Repair. I'm sure he fixed me an old Ford Escort back in the day that my mom brought in. You know, he's in Kansas City, we're in Maine, but still. I only drive Dodge Ram. Me and wife listen. Hey, right on. Me and my wife listen. Oh boy, I better calm down. I'm thinking of becoming an owner-operator truck driver in 3 years. I want to still invest for retirement. I believe that would provide man. I tell you what, an owner-operated truck driver, Ms. Tweedy, ain't a bad way to go for sure. My wife does some taxes for some owner-operated truck drivers, and let's just put it this way. They're not getting by tax-free, if you know what I'm saying. So that's not too shabby. Well, I get taxed annually on capital gains at a brokerage account. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a 1099, my friend, for sure. That's why we don't want capital gains. That's why we want ETFs to avoid capital gains. But don't forget, you can do some tax planning. You can say, I was talking to a couple yesterday. I said, man, all this crap, sell the stuff that's low. They had 2 things that had a pretty good capital appreciation. Everything else just sell. And it'd probably be a wash because probably have $3,000 write off here, $5,000 gain here, $5,000 write off here, $3,000 gain there. So you can wipe it all out. So there is no max per year to roll from a 401k to a Roth IRA. Unless you're still employed by your company, silver and gold. Some is silver and gold. Nothing. All right. So who is that? Anybody know? Silver and gold. Who does that? He takes his pickaxe, eats the snow off it. Nothing. It depends. If you're still employed by your company, it depends on what they allow you to do. They might say you can only do 25,000 a year. They might do whatever they want. So just keep that in mind. But there's no IRS rules. There's no mandates there. Sorry, I thought you had SWMBO figured out, the wife, so I can roll my wife's Roth, which has been open for 5 years. SWMBO. Is that the thing that someone told me the other day? Yeah, last week someone said what that was. I forgot what it was, man. Oops. Yeah, so Ms. Tweedy says she knows a number of friends became owner-operators. They went back to the company driving because of stress of breakdown. Dan Youngs, his lady's been traveling today. Tardy slip for you, sir. Best millennial car theft deterrent, stick shift. That's right, Pick. I tell you, man. Man, that is so spot on. Absolutely. The minute I tell you, I miss driving a stick. I haven't driven a stick in a long time. I miss it. It's I guess it's an old man's thing to reminisce about driving a stick. But that's right. You want to keep your car from getting stolen, get a stick. They'll never figure it out. Retiring at 65, wife will be 62, selling house and living full time in an RV. What are your thoughts on this? Steve, man, my thoughts are freaking awesome, brother. I think it's going to be fantastic. I can't tell you how many people tell me the exact same thing. It's nuts. I love it. My thoughts on that, I freaking go out there, party like it's 1999, enjoy your life, man. And then at some point you might say, it was time to get over the RV life and go settle in someplace in Orange Beach, Alabama. I don't know. Don't tell anybody about Orange Beach, Alabama, because that's where I want to go. And Orange Beach, Alabama is awesome. North Alabama mountains up in Huntsville. Orange Beach, Alabama, low income tax, low property tax, low cost of living, nice people, own firearms. Alabama is fantastic. No other way around that. But yeah, I think it's great. So kudos, man. Russell G. Retiring at age 57. Does Right Capital Software calculate 72T and rule? I don't know. Russell, I'm not sure. Does Right Capital Software calculate 72T and rule of 55 withdrawals prior to 59? Not sure. You just have to run the numbers and see. I only see 60. Oh, Edward Hood. Give me $5. Thanks, man. That's my Mainer homeboy. Another Mainer homeboy, George Mitchell, or this might be the wealthy George Mitchell from Texas, who saved us all with his fracking. 2 questions have not been asked. Both of these are for someone retiring at 60. Order of retirement account withdrawals. Always from your traditional /401k, your pre-tax ones, your soon-to-be taxable ones, 100% always, everywhere, no exceptions. Well, there are some exceptions, but the vast majority of time you want to touch those. Right Capital will say prorated, taxable, tax deferred, and Roth, or prorated a third. Right Capital does not give you the ability, just anyone's on here, to choose the tax deferred first, which is a pet peeve of mine, but that's just what they do. Where to get healthcare that's affordable? That's forever the question. You're gonna have to look at some brokers. That's the question. Hi from Belgium. Hey, did you know that since last week, people in Denmark can go to the bank and get a loan and even get money back from the same bank? Belgium, did you know that since last week, people in Denmark can go to the bank and get a loan and even get money? I don't get that. Okay. What are your thoughts on utilizing the TSP and with my pension so I can delay taking Social Security? We're going to be getting hit with tax. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think using the TSP, you can take now from the traditional. You don't have to touch the Roth. You can't decide which fund from which to take it out. Many people have told me that about the TSP Modernization Act, that it didn't modernize that. You still have to take prorated from your funds, which is friggin' stupid. But at least now you can take it from whichever fund you want, whichever account, traditional or Roth. So in this case, Edward, you take it from the TSP traditional, absolutely, and then and you delay Social Security, 100%, without question. All right. Smash. Everyone's telling you to smash, so make sure you swash. Vanguard ETF at VOO is great. I have VTV, which is the only fund I have, the Vanguard Value Index Fund. VOO is a Vanguard Total Stock Index. I think VUG, if I'm not mistaken, is a Vanguard Growth Index. These are all large caps. I forgot what the total stock index is for the Vanguard ETF. VOO is the S&P 500, excuse me. I forgot what the Vanguard Total Stock Index is. American funds, I like the Investment Company of America, the Income Fund of America, Capital World Growth Fund, New Perspective Fund, Capital World Growth and Income Fund, CWGIX, AIVSX. That's the Investment Company of America. I forgot what Income Fund of America was. I'm missing one. Growth Fund of America. So you got Growth Fund of America, Income Fund of America, Capital World Growth and Income Fund, Investment Company of America. And I'm sure there's a couple more I'm missing, but those are it's just tough to go wrong with those guys. I mean, they've been around forever, low fees, just fantastic. Yeah, man, my kids only drive manuals. Friends can't borrow the cars. Oh, man. All right, 457 plan and have 250. If I withdraw 17 per K per year, can it last for 14 years? I don't know, man. If so, where can I put the investments? I mean, I just like index funds. We just went over them. So, I mean, the ETFs of Vanguard American funds works for me. I just got to watch your fees, man. That's all I do. So American funds have relatively low fees, active management. Vanguard has lower fees, passive management, but Vanguard also has the Wellington Fund. And I'm a huge fan of the Wellington Fund as well. So tough one there, man. Yukon Cornelius. Hey, Yukon Bert. Yeah, man, you guys know it. I love it. Yukon Cornelius. Yeah, George McFly is right, Ross. Man, I love that movie. That movie's great. Can a fiduciary earn a bonus for a 5-year performance or some other merit plan? That's a great question, Harley. I don't know the answer to that. I hope not. Well, I don't know if I want to say I hope not, actually. Maybe it would be better. I don't know. I bet they probably cannot, frankly. The question is, can a fiduciary earn a bonus for 5 or for a performance-based bonus or some other merit plan? I just don't. I don't know. I don't think they can. I don't think they can. But that would be interesting dynamic to say, look, I'm going to charge you 25 basis points a year, and I don't know, a tenth of the earnings or something like that. That's that in the skin of the game there. But now they charge you 1.25, 1.5, and they get paid whether or not you make money. It's nuts. You left Ford Escorts to work on, Harley, or because you loved them, because they always came in because they were junk, or just you loved them as a good quality vehicle? Yukon Cornelius. All right, so Troy Maddox says, I only have 401k right now. Just open a taxable and Roth. Good. I'm 40. Think about doing conversions. Wondering if my end game should be Roth and taxable only. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, she who must be obeyed. There you go. All right, right on. She who must be obeyed. Why do you think the dishes were done before my wife stepped in the house today? Because she gets mad when she comes home, the dishes aren't done. I'm like, oh, lady, when I was working, you were staying from home. I never got mad at you for that. Come on, give me some peace of mind here. But hey, for all the crap I put her through, and if the dishes getting done is all I got to do, I'm whipped. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm whipped. Coming up on our 20th year, my friends. Today is the 25th. 6 more days to our 20-year anniversary. And we were dating for 4 years before that. It's not, 20 years. It's great. I could not be happier. It's funny when you look, man, I know marriages, not everybody has a good marriage. I get that. We got married a little bit older, had our kids a little bit older. And the reason for that, for women out there, is the reason you want to wait a little bit longer, because men mature later. There's no other way around that. Men mature later. I know I did. And while she didn't force me to quit drinking, it was, if I was going to retain our relationship, I knew I had to quit drinking. And I did, and could not be better. And so I was able to age a little bit, able to get sober, and we got married when I was 29 and she was 26, 25, something like that. And fast forward 49, and here we are, happy as a clam. At least I am. I'm speaking on behalf of her. I'm sure she's like, no, she's in the background. She'd be like, no. One of these days I will interview her for this video, and you'll see my better half. But she's very, I don't look good on camera. I'm like, oh my God, stop. But that's one of the problems with YouTube. A lot of women are judged on their appearance. We know this for a fact. It'll always be, forever will be. And they're a lot more conscious about their appearance, which is too bad, because I think a lot of women would have a lot to offer if they could kind of get over that hump. But but men we don't care, literally. It's funny because we got to get this dog person to come in tomorrow and make sure our house, a dog inspector, to make sure our house is up to snuff for this dog, for little Pablo we're going to adopt. And my wife's like, no, the house is a mess, blah, blah. And I'm looking around and saying, man, the house looks fine to me, not to her. So that's completely different dynamics for sure. So, I missed something there. Santa Snowman. That's right, Clint. I missed something. Oh yeah. So anyway, traumatic. Yeah, man. If you have Roth IRA and taxable only, dude, you are the man of man for sure. At age 12, I sneaked my mom's Ford Escort to do my paper route. Oh man, Jerry. So the story of me and this kid, Bobby Smith, and my best friend growing up. So we just moved off the island into my dad, my brother and I were living with my dad in Portland, and my man Dana on Dean Street next to USM Law School, the University of Maine Law School, that ugly roundabout building. We lived one street down from that, and the first floor of a up and down duplex. So normal when I lived with my dad in Silver Spring, it's a duplex like this, a brick building. You one half over here, another half over here. When we're in Maine, it's like an up and down duplex. So you had a family above us. And I remember they used to play the Kinks down in the basement, and it's freaking awesome, dude. I didn't know them very well, but they're like Cool Kids. They played in a rock and roll band. I just remember they played down there. I loved it. They played some AC/DC, the Kinks. It was like freaking heaven. Anyway, so my dad moved to D.C. and my mom moved in from the island. Me and my friend Bobby Smith, we stole this car. Well, we stole it. We took the keys and we drove it pouring rain to 7-Eleven up on us. So where we lived, we'd drive down by King Middle School where we went to school, and the football field's right here. And a couple of you guys will know what I'm talking about. And we went up to where this Joe Smoke Shack place was. I can't remember this, I guess Commercial Street, and there's a 7-Eleven. Anyway, we went to 7-Eleven to buy cigarettes because you could do that back in those days. It's like 83, maybe 84, I guess 83, maybe 82. Anyway, so we go buy cigarettes, and I don't think we were drinking back. We were drinking back in those days. I mean, it was easy to get booze back then, but I don't think we were drinking that night. Long story short, we went into 7-Eleven to get cigarettes or something else. It was like 3 a.m, and I turned the car off, but I left the lights on. And so we come out, and we're BS with some people in there and whatnot, and I couldn't start the car. I ran the battery down. I was like, no. And I didn't know what. I mean, I was 12 years old, I think. Anyway, we're driving. It was raining, huge potholes in Maine. Going through these potholes. I'm like, holy, I don't know what I was doing. Driving, it was like pouring rain. And I don't even. So I had to call my mom like 3:30 in the morning and say, we can't start the car. Anyway, it was just funny because if she only knew how badly I was driving, running the battery down was the least of her concerns. Let's just put it that way. So to say the least, I got in trouble. Yukon Jack was Yukon Cornelius's more successful brother. See, that's why I love doing these live streams, man. I crack up. Oh man, if you all want to laugh, you've got to. I posted a Saturday Night Live skit on the New Boyfriends podcast or something like that. Man, holy crap! I haven't laughed so much. You got to go to Heritage Wealth Planning, that community thing. Oh my god, it is. It's funny. All right, that 51. I can't draw from my traditional without the 10% penalty. Take from Roth while converting traditional to Roth, or take gains from rental property. Okay, gotcha. I can't. Okay, yeah. In that case, yeah, you have to take the gains from the rental property. Absolutely. Good point. Saying the Snowman. Toyota Celica is a great car. Yeah, no, I've heard that. Great content between you and my man Dustin Tibbetts. Right on, Dustin. Yep. To have good fundamental personal finance. Someone said about my 40th anniversary on the 31st. Right on, Rick. Yeah, you got married 20 years before we did. I remember my mother had a green station wagon during the 70s. Great times. Whipped is good. Take care of the wife. Happy 20th. Thought you said no large cap due to taxable income to taxable account. We don't want 10-9. I mean, you can have large cap growth companies. The preference would be large small caps, but if they're growth oriented, I mean, does Amazon pay a dividend? They're large cap. They don't pay a dividend. It's just the issue is the dividend. I mean, most smaller cap growth companies aren't going to pay any. Some large cap growth, I guess you'd have to throw Apple as large cap growth. I don't even know anymore, frankly. But Amazon is certainly growth, and they're large cap, and they pay no dividend. Actually, it's interesting because I was looking up Amazon the other day. I couldn't believe their PE ratio is down to 70 or something like that. Bear with me just a second. That shocked me. I was so Amazon PE ratio is 72. The reason that shocked me is because I remember a few years back, everyone was flipping out when Amazon actually posted positive earnings because it showed that they had a PE ratio like in the thousands. And they had like 2 cents positive earnings, and everyone's freaking out. Like this was going to show that Amazon, they wanted them to not have positive earnings because not having positive earnings was just speculation as to what their earnings were. Having positive earnings would actually show a real life PE, but now you're seeing a PE ratio of 72.49. I mean, that's high, but it's a hell of a lot lower than what it was. It's nuts. Not saying you should buy Amazon. I don't know, but I'm just saying that's nuts. 31 years, right on. 2 family, yep. Conversion to a Roth considered a contribution? No. No, a conversion is not a contribution. Great question. Want to know if I can contribute to the max and roll over money as well? Absolutely. Yes, sir. You can contribute to the max and still roll over converting. I just want to make sure we're talking the same language here. You can contribute to $6,000-7,000, Ms. Tweedy, and you can convert $1 million as well. Just absolutely. Sandra says, living the life to the fullest. To Ben C, living lean. Oh, thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Living lean, abundance all around. We wish you the same. Yeah, right on. I will never do a YouTube channel for that reason. I've seen other women treat. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Jill. Who was I watching? An attractive lady, Ginny something, and it friggin' pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, can you just stop with this? Just stop. Men shouldn't be acting like that. I mean, and I don't know how you do it look, teenage boys are gonna act like teenage boys. I don't know how you police that up, but men shouldn't be acting as she was very nice. She's a very Christian lady too, and she was talking about, I can't remember what she's talking about, but just a great person, and she's good looking, but I was it killed me because I'm sitting there thinking these dudes are, I don't know. I mean, look, man, I am